Welcome back to another episode of the podcast.
Hello.
How are we doing today? Tonight? Whenever you're watching this, I guess. How we doing? How we doing? All right, so before we get into it, I'm going to show Kevin pictures of like girly items, and he's going to try to guess what it is and what it's used for. Okay? Okay, and I'm going to send him pictures so he can put it on the screen. So if he doesn't, that's on him. You know what I mean? If you don't know what we're talking about, blame Kevin.
Wow.
All right, this is our first item. That green thing on top.
The green thing on top. It's see, I'm not gonna know what they're called.
I'll give you a pass if you can describe it well enough.
I feel like I want to say like a skincare product because it's a rolling thing. I just don't remember exactly.
Well, what is it used for for skincare?
I want to say like massaging your face or something like that because it's a rolling thing. I'm just guessing at this point.
Do we want to give it to him? Massaging your face.
Does it apply something?
It could. We'll give it to him? Okay. So a lot of times people use it after they put on their serums to like massage it, like to rub it in. Or it's like to roll it.
I would just I thought you were like using it to actually apply like makeup, not like massage. In my head it's different, yeah.
All right, what is this? The pink.
I want to say it's another makeup related thing to apply makeup, or just correct me if I'm wrong, is it an actual like ball?
No.
It is flat like that. Okay, yeah, then I'm going to go with it some type of makeup applier or remover. Or a skin exfoliator.
You have to pick.
Skin exfoliator.
Final answer.
Final answer.
Final answer? Okay.
Locked in.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right.
It's used for skincare. It's so like exfoliator to like rub in your cleanser and stuff like that. It's like it like vibrates.
Wait, what? It vibrates?
Yeah. And like depending on the ones you get,
So wait, is it like electronic then?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just like a flat
Some of them are just flat silicones, but some of them are like electric. And like depending on what you have, it'll like pause in between like certain increments to be like, okay, now move to the next part of your face.
Okay. Like I want one now.
They're very good for your skin.
I feel like they probably are.
Yeah. All right, what's this? Hold on, there's so many, they're ads. Okay, the top. Not the bottom.
Oh, is that the thing for your toes when you're getting your toenails done?
Yeah, it's a separator.
Okay. Is it? Oh, wow, of course, it's just called the separator. I should have figured that out. All right.
All right. Do I need to put my brightness up? Is that part of the problem?
No, it's just the pictures are mad tiny. And you have like two cracks like running right down the picture. That's I don't know what it's called. It's like a body scrubber kind of thing. I feel like it's specifically for like your foot though, like the bottom of like the sole of your foot, because it's like a really hard material thing. Mm-hmm. It's a scraper.
Okay. I don't know. Is that
my final answer? It's a scraper.
So it's called a pumice stone. It is used for the bottom of your foot, though.
Okay.
It is used for there. All right. This one.
So it is an actual stone then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Technically, you should wet it before you use it. But you could also use the pumice stone to get out like rust marks and like other things. Yeah. All right. They're not toothpicks.
Are those makeup like pencils?
No. I can give you. Can I give him a hint? All right, it's not makeup related, but it is beauty related.
That doesn't help me because I was going the other way with that. I feel like it's not hair related.
No.
Okay, it's not makeup related. Is it related to either a manicure or a pedicure then? I'm gonna go with pedicure related. No, manicure related. Final answer. I don't know what it
does it
does.
do?
I have no clue. I want to say like it like pushes back like cuticles or something like that.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
It was the orange, like the wood sticks. Yeah, they push back. You can use them to clean up your cuticles, to push them back.
Okay then. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. That one is also a very small picture because there's a lot of things in it.
Is it like a whole collection of things?
Um,
Or is it one particular item I'm trying to identify, or is it the whole kit?
no, the whole. It's basically
It's
a
a whole kit?
Yeah. They're all parts of the thing.
Can you like zoom in? Because now you have all these different things. I gotta like. I see the brand name, but the brand name doesn't really help me.
I don't even know what that brand.
I want to say, because I feel like in the corner I'm seeing the cuticle stick thing again.
Okay.
No, that's not the is it? No, no, but I feel like it's something for manicures or hands, right? Yeah, I feel like it's like a do-it-yourself manicure kit.
Okay.
Final answer.
No. Incorrect.
It was like close.
No. So it's a waxing kit. So that's the wax like warmer or heater.
Oh, okay, okay.
Those are like big popsicle sticks. That's what those are.
That makes sense. I was
You could
thinking those
spread it.
popsicle sticks were the file, like
Oh.
that's what I was trying to figure out what
Okay.
that was. So, and I thought the big thing would have been something to put your hand in,
Okay.
like
Like to cure?
like yeah, like there was like logic to my thing there.
Sure.
All right. Those are like sponges that you use for makeup.
What part of the makeup? Use it for
Um,
makeup. There's so many parts of makeup. Like, do I use it for my eyeliner? Do I use it for my
All right, it's not
eyeshadow?
eyeliner or eyelashes, obviously. It's gonna be applied to like your cheek and like your forehead if you use it for your forehead. I'm gonna say because the only other thing I can think of is the word foundation, so I'm gonna go with foundation. Final answer, locked in.
Yes, for foundation, but also for other things. But yes, it is basically for your base. Okay, this one. I don't think you're gonna get this one. Hold on, I'm screenshotting it so we can zoom in. All right. What is this? It is bendy. I will tell you that because you can't tell from the picture. That might have a hint. The question.
I mean, I was gonna say it's like a fancy Q-tip, but I'm glad you scrolled up because I do
Yeah.
feel like that was a spring there. I want to say because it's like a Q-tip shape. I want to say like it's a makeup applier or something like that, but I feel like that's wrong.
It is wrong.
Yeah. So if it's not a makeup applier, I really hope you're not putting that in your ear because I feel like that's not good for your ears. It can't be something eye related. Why would you put a spring near your eye? That doesn't make sense.
Let me know when you give up.
Hold on, I'm like
Yeah.
going through. Can it be hair related? But what would you do with it? No, I'm gonna go not hair related. Is it manicure pedicure related
No.
again? Is it skincare related?
Does that count as skincare?
Your phone locked, by the way. I don't need to see it again, but
I wouldn't say skincare per se,
it's not skincare. It's not makeup.
but it is beauty related.
It's not manicure, pedicure. Am I correct in it's not hair related?
Depends on what you're using it for. I would say it is hair related.
Don't tell me it's part of like a waxing kit again.
Not waxing. Can I tell you?
Hold on. I feel like I'm right there. Is it for like removing hair in like your nose or something? Like a waxing thing like up there? I've seen them do wax up there too, so like I'm not crazy for that. No, you said it wasn't waxing though.
Can I just tell you what it is?
All right, fine, tell me.
So it's an epilator. It removes hair. So how it works is it's a spring, right? So you hold
Okay.
the spring open on the area, then you close it, and you pull it away,
Oh, okay.
right? You open it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but like a bunch at the same time, because it's a spring.
Okay. I was assuming you were using like the orange and that's why.
Oh no, those are the handles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as soon as you started saying
Yeah.
like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. Okay.
Hold on, where is it? Did I lose the quiz?
Is that better than waxing or shaving?
Well, a lot of people use that for their face instead.
Okay. All right. Is that a hair straightener? Am I? No. Oh no, a curler. Okay.
It's a curling wand.
So
What is this?
that looks like the bootleg Monopoly hat for a board game. That's what that looks like.
It's not.
That's so it's not board game related.
No.
Everything I can think of I know is wrong. I want to say you put on the tip of your finger. I just don't know why you would.
I'm glad you don't know why, because that's not how it's used. It
Um,
makes sense that doesn't make sense.
So, because you know what I'm thinking? If you had like the finger skateboard, it'd be like a top hat for the guy with the finger skateboard. Show me a picture. Because what else could? Wait, how to size are these? I just realized that. Like, is it like that small that it would go on the tip of?
No.
Okay, that's why I'm thinking it's like a tiny little thing. Because I'm thinking Monopoly pieces. Is this the actual size of a top hat?
No.
Is it like
It's
where are we?
like this? I would say like the opening is probably like this big, maybe. Right? I would say about that size. I haven't seen one of these in a while. Yeah, I would say like maybe.
That
like,
really helps me when I was because I was a girl in the early 2000s. What is?
I would say no. I would say like 2010s, early 2010s. Yeah.
I was not. All right, let's process of elimination. Is it makeup related?
Yeah.
Or is it more skincare related?
It helps to prep for the makeup, but it's not technically skincare.
Is it like a mixing thing for your makeup?
No.
I don't even know if that makes sense. What are you putting in there? I don't know.
It's a lip plumper. You suction your lips into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm still thinking it's much smaller than it actually is. That's why. So I was never going to get that
Do you
one.
remember like the Kylie Jenner lip challenge?
Mm-hmm.
That is how you use that.
Oh, okay. That's it's an attachment for like your hair dryer to volumize your hair. I feel like that's not the right word, but it's the only word I can think
So
of.
it's called a diffuser.
Okay.
right? So it helps like to dry curly hair
Okay,
because it diffuses the air around your hair.
got it. Only reason I know is because my hair dryer has.
What is this?
It's a pogo stick.
No.
Wait, I need to see. I barely saw it. A fidget spinner. Tell me that doesn't look like a really bad fidget spinner. Am I assuming that one of those handles is like big enough for you to hold, like in your hand?
Yes.
Okay.
The bottom one.
Right. Is this for? Is it like a hair thing?
No.
Do the top parts turn at all?
Yeah, they spin. They roll.
So is it some type of massager?
Yeah. It kind of like helps to lift your skin.
Okay.
Okay. What is this?
I'm assuming you're putting 2 fingers at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Is it popping up that way or is it popping down?
Up.
Is it makeup related again
Um,
or more skincare?
neither?
What would you consider the lip plumper, makeup or skincare?
I feel like that's in between.
Is this in between then?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I can't think of anything.
It's a nail polish holder.
A nail polish holder.
Yeah, so like while you're doing your nails, like I can hold it.
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of just putting it on the table. Okay.
I never used it, but
Okay.
All right, what's this?
Is it nail related?
No.
Okay. Is it related to that stone thing from earlier? Like to the bottom of your foot kind of thing?
It is not, but there are some that look like this.
Okay, so
So
then
yeah.
is it another massager?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just I think it vibrates and stuff in it.
I
Helps.
really thought it was like the thing for like your foot again.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
thought at first too. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna get this one.
It's a slingshot.
No.
Are the little pink things very small? How big? I need
Scale.
scale because
I would say
they're tiny. Like a communion cup tiny? Is that what we're talking about? A little bigger than communion
I would say
cup?
like a toy car wheel.
A toy. What size toy car? Like a Hot Wheels car? What are we talking?
Yeah, like a
Oh,
standard
so these things
little
are-
car.
No, you said the wheel.
Yeah.
So if it's a Hot Wheels car, the wheel is very tiny.
Okay, so maybe not. Maybe not.
Is it like the size of a Hot Wheels car?
the base of the communion cup?
That's how big but how big is the actual thing?
This whole thing?
Yeah.
So this part is handheld.
Okay.
So picture a hand around the bottom part.
Okay, let me see this again now. I want to say it's a massager because those things looks like they would massage. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's for like your chin, your double chin or like your neck. I don't
You need something. All right, I'm not gonna argue with it.
I think that was the last one. Hold on, there's an ad. No, I am good. Oh yeah, that was the last one. How do you do? He did pretty well. You did not bad.
It wasn't like that hard
It wasn't, yeah.
to figure out. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
I feel like a lot of them can be like just with deduction. You could figure it out.
I mean, that's more or less what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel for some of it I've seen. Honestly, it's not even Friends. It's just you scroll through TikTok long enough, you're gonna get a Get Ready With Me video pop up, and you'll see something there. So it's not.
All right, so just as every of those items have had a purpose, so did so did Joseph's life. All right? We're still on the series of
with you.
Joseph.
Go ahead, keep going.
All right? So, at this point of the story, where we're at is the time of the famine. Right? So that's where we've kind of led up to. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, have you ever had an experience where like you had like this crazy falling out or whatever, and you ended up seeing the person again, like way down the line after you, right? How was that experience? It doesn't have to be like you were in the wrong, or it doesn't have to be like, it could be either party was in the wrong. But how was seeing them again, knowing it hadn't been squashed?
Typically, it's awkward. But I also try my best to not hold grudges. Like I'll vent and then I'll try to move on as best I can from it. So it's awkward because I'm more concerned how are they gonna act than me. I can, all right, hi, how you doing? And keep it going. Yeah, I mean that's typically what's happened. It's all right, cool. Just keep it moving, kind of thing.
Okay. So in Joseph's case, his brothers sold him, and then they kind of just went their separate ways, right? He ended up in Egypt. He was working in Potiphar's house. He was in jail, and then he ended up working for the Pharaoh, right? He interpreted the dream, and now at this point of the story, he's basically overseeing, I would say, like most of Egypt. Right? And so it is time of the famine. The 7 years of fortune have passed, so now it is 7 years of famine. And at this point, everyone is coming to Egypt for rations because of how well God had directed Joseph to, I guess, save up or store their grains and their goods. And I think hello.
Hi.
I've never thought of Joseph's like personal life in this 20-year transition or period to think of like, oh, did he get married? Did he have kids? Like I've always just been like, okay, he was sold to slavery, he was put in jail, and then he ended up working for the Pharaoh, right? I've only thought of his professional life. I've never thought about his personal life. But in doing like looking into this episode and stuff, I realized that he did have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
Right? He named his kids I find this funny, but he named one of his kids hold on, let me find the exact word. So one of them is Ephraim and the other one is, where is it? Hold on, I gotta look it up again. I didn't write it in here. Okay. All right, so his firstborn son is Manasseh, or Manasseh, I guess, because God made him forget all his hardship in his father's house. And the other one is Ephraim, which was because God had caused him to be fruitful in his land of suffering. I find these names very, I don't want to say funny, but I think the circumstances with which he has come up with these names is very interesting to me.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Just Because to name your son after your hardship, I feel like we don't do that anymore. Like we don't do this nowadays. Like you just give your kid a name. But like the fact that in biblical days everyone's name had a meaning and it was very foretelling of who they were or who their family is. And so to name your child that God had forgotten all of my hardship in my father's house, I feel like that's a lot to put on a kid.
Well, it's in, was it verse 51? It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. I don't think that it was a lot to put. I think for me, it's more of a happy sentiment than a sad one.
No, I think it is a happy sentiment, but I think it's also, I guess it's one of those things where it's like I've forgotten all my hardship on my father's house, but this name is also making me remember it. It's one of those things to me.
I get
Not
what you're saying.
Not necessarily that like you should forget it and you should never remember it, but
I think of it more like when you read through the story of like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they would build like altars.
Okay.
Right? But instead of it being an altar, I feel like Joseph marked it with his kids. Right? So it wasn't meant to be a bad thing. It was just meant to be, hey, look at how good God has been. After all this time, now I'm married and I have my first kid, right? And then when he gets Ephraim, God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering, right? Which again is very, right? He is fruitful, right? He has two kids now. So yeah, I think it's more of a, I don't even know what the word is for it when they do it with the building.
The altars?
Yeah, I don't know what it would be called. Because I know like that's where you get like names like Bethel and things like that from. And then the other thing I was thinking as you were talking was just names are much more important in the Bible than they are today.
Yeah, I think I would agree because your name is it kind of reflects back to your whole lineage a lot of times, or like the tribe you came from, and like not just like you're like Jacob, Isaac, whatever, but like it was Jesus of Nazareth, right? It was a lot of times your name or your surname was like really where you're from, or your father's name or your father's father and stuff like that.
Well, that's why I think like I know like other cultures, they'll give your last name, like your family name first, then your first name and things like that. But for the Bible, the names were almost like I want to say almost like a prophecy over the person.
Okay.
Right? Like, Jacob was deceiver, and he ends up deceiving his father and Esau to some extent, right? But then his name is changed to Israel, which means prince, right? Which makes sense when you look at Abraham and Isaac, and then from Israel now you get his sons, which will become the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So like you see a lot of name changes in the Bible. Same thing with like Saul to Paul, right? Simon to Peter, right? There are a lot of important name changes in the Bible. So even Abraham is really, his name is originally Abram, and it's changed to Abraham. I don't know if I think Isaac might be the one, his name wasn't changed. I don't remember his name being changed. But yeah, you have all of those guys, their names are changed because the names are important. The names kind of tell a story of the person.
Yeah, it's like you kind of get a gist of who they are based off of their name before, like. We should do that again. We should get back to that.
I mean,
but then like, how do you know?
Well, I do know people who have, like, if you ask them like, why did they name their kid this? It's not like, oh, this sounded good. It's, oh, well, this name means this. Like I know like I know a few Christian couples. If you ask them what their kids' name are, it's like, oh no, well this name goes, this name is actually like the contemporary version of like Mary and things like that. Like they've done that level of research into the names,
Yeah.
and have had similar reasons, like the way Joseph, like they've had like really important names. I've also seen it work the other way, right? Like there is, I forget his name. He wrote a book, and he's talking about, I think his wife was named after either her grandmother or her aunt. And whoever she was named after was just like not a good person. But
Okay.
like, because they named her, like, I think it was like her mother's way of trying to like appease that family member or something.
Okay.
But like, it ended up being a thing where like the mother kind of, the same thing you were talking about where like the name reminded her, it became a negative thing for the mother, where the mother was
Ah.
always reminded of this bad relationship, and it strained the relationship with the daughter,
Yeah.
right? So it can work the other way, and it's something where like he even talks about like they had to actually like pray about it and things like that, and kind of get, it was almost like the name became more of a curse than a blessing, right? And they had to like really pray about that and stuff like that. But yeah, the names can go
Both ways.
both ways.
I think in Joseph's case it was kind of a reminder to him of where he has come from, and like how much God has blessed him with and how he's changed his life, more so than like a bitter, like a distaste to where he has come from.
Oh, the thing with names not mattering as much now, I think, is also a more Western thing,
Oh yeah.
because to this day there's a lot of, especially like Indian names that are like derived from like the name of like a Hindu god or something like that. And I didn't realize that, like someone posted something and I was like, oh, this is like the name of like half the people like I went to school with. Like they were named after like a Hindu god.
god, yeah.
It's just that over time it just kind of kept changing slightly and slightly, so that it takes you a while to notice it, but then it's like, oh no, they're named after this. And that's why a lot of times when people from those cultures get saved, they tend to then
Change their name.
to like just Christian or Peter, or you get like this more like American name, but it's like, no, they're trying to disassociate from this like Hindu god thing. Like it's really, I forgot how long ago we had that like thing in the group chat about one of the Indian movies. I forgot which one it was at this point. Someone was like, oh, like this is why like I can't like date guys, or like because this movie ruined it for me or something. Or no, this is why I won't date a guy that has like a girl best friend.
Oh.
But it was like, but that wasn't the point of the movie.
Yeah.
So of course then I was like, all right, I gotta rewatch this movie. Then I had to rewatch another one because I was actually picturing a different movie in my head the whole time. But then
I know exactly which two.
well, they're
I know
because
exactly.
it's the same guys and everything.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was I didn't realize, and this is a total aside at this point, when we used to watch these movies on DVD, I didn't realize these were just like bootleg copies. Like it never dawned on me that these are bootleg copies. I'm just like, oh, the movie finally hit like in my head. So now I'm watching it and everything is actually translated. Because like before, not all the songs were translated. Like you didn't have subtitles for the songs. It was just the dialogue. Half the songs are like songs to their gods. And like both of those movies, a ton of the songs are songs to their gods. I'm like, did my parents know this when we were watching these movies? Like,
They didn't have the subtitles, same way that you didn't have the subtitles.
you know, I'm like, what? Like, I was just so surprised how.
I think a lot of them are not necessarily songs to their gods, but like referencing what that god is the god of. I think. I don't like. I don't remember.
In my head, it's the same thing.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, I was just like, oh, this is very, very interesting that people were watching this movie crying and they were singing to like a god. Okay, Not my parents, but other people that were in the room. I was like, whoa, okay. So, but yeah, okay, carry on.
I don't even remember where I was.
Names and the importance of names and things like
That's
that.
not even what we're supposed to be talking.
Well, that's what you were talking about.
I was just saying it was interesting to me the way that he named his kids.
I thought you had that in your notes.
No. That's why it wasn't in the note. I had to look them up again.
You didn't have to look up one. I mean, could have been a typo.
They came together. Okay. All right. So what we're really talking about today is purpose, right?
Sure.
There is a purpose through everything you go through, right? You may not see it now, but you'll see. No, don't. We're not shrugging. This is what it is. You might not always see the purpose in what it is that you're going through, but at the end of the day, I think it's common to find that there was a purpose, right? So at the time of the famine, when Joseph's brothers ended up coming essentially right to him for their rations, for their food, he recognized them, but they did not recognize him, right? And so he was plotting and scheming to get like their little brother to stay with to him and like send them off and, to like scope things out and get a vibe on to like what was happening and who they are now, because it's been 20 years, right? Joseph has wife and kids, I'm sure, and he was the second youngest, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, second
so
youngest.
the other brothers are probably well on their way in terms of like life and what they're doing. So they're not the same people that they were in the beginning. And then once Joseph eventually reveals to him that I am the brother that you sold off into slavery, do you recall how that situation went, or how?
If I remember correctly, I feel like the brothers thought they were going to get killed.
And were they wrong to assume that?
No. I mean, in their heads, they essentially killed their brother. Mm-hmm. So for him to still be alive, I don't think it is unreasonable for them to have assumed, hey, he's gonna kill us all.
Yeah, like he'll get his get back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Absolutely. That's why I was asking you in the first question. I was like, how was that situation when you encountered a person that you had a falling out with? Because you would expect it to be like awkward, weird. There would be like some negative connotations there. Just like a negative situation all around. But Joseph had kind of already forgiven them, right? And in their interaction, quite a few times, he actually said that God has sent me before you, right? So although it happened the way that it did, I can now see, or I can now tell you that there was a purpose behind it, right? So the reason that I was put through that and being sold into slavery and all of that was so that I can then be here now at the time that you need me.
Yep.
Right? So that I can help you to get through this difficult time. And I think when you are going through the harder parts of the struggle, right, of your journey, it's hard to find that purpose sometimes, I think. Because, go ahead.
I mean, I think in most cases, we really don't know the purpose of it until we come out the other side. And even then, coming out the other side in the case of Joseph was 30 years later or something, he gets the position in Pharaoh's thing. So, you can go through a tough season now and you may not know the purpose of it until
years later.
Decades later.
Yeah.
I mean, we've with work and stuff, we've gotten contracts because the guys that were running the business at that point literally go, yeah, you know what? When their business was struggling, we didn't give them a hard time about certain things. And they were like, they never forgot that, right? But sometimes that puts us in an awkward position because then we're not getting paid or whatever it is.
Yep.
But then, okay, we land a big contract or something like that. So, you sometimes don't know when you're going through a just difficult season, what God is doing realistically.
Yeah, I think it's like the saying, like what goes around comes around, right? So a lot of times the way you treat people is the way that they will treat you back.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, because some people are just, but a lot of times, if you set a good example, people will then either like try to emulate that back to you, right? So in our friendship, you have been like there for me at times, and then we would return the favor, I guess, kind of, right? If you need me to do something, I'll volunteer, I'll do it, right? And I think that was kind of how Joseph also lived his life, right? Because he's seen how God has been faithful to him throughout his whole journey, right? He's seen how, despite being thrown in jail, he was then put in charge of the prisoners, right? He could have been like at the bottom of the totem pole in the prison, but yet God still had favor on his life and put him in a position of power. So I think that's kind of one of the examples that he probably used in his life as to how he would treat other people as well. Because if God has been faithful to you and you have been faithful to God, and that's only helped you, right? It kind of sets the groundwork as to how you should treat other people as well.
So I agree. The only thing I think, and I don't know if this goes along with what you're saying or maybe contradicts it. I think
Okay.
especially with Joseph, he was less concerned about, I think, what was going to happen to him, right? And more just focused on, okay, focus on God,
Yep.
right? To mean, okay, God is taking me someplace, right? And I was even thinking about it. Joseph, when he interprets the Pharaoh's dream, he is very detailed about the interpretation, right? There's going to be 7 years of I guess, harvest and
Harvest.
reaping. Then there's going to be 7 years of famine. So we need to make sure that in those 7 years, we don't just go through all the food. Like he really understood it. I genuinely wonder if Joseph understood exactly what his dreams meant when he received them about his family.
As a child?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think.
And here's why I wonder that, because I think God tells him essentially, here's where you're going to go, or here's where I want to take you, right? You just have to trust me in the driver's seat, right? And that means that as they travel, sometimes it's going to be a smooth road and it's all good, right? Other times the weather's going to turn on you and things like that, right? Or better yet, if you're in a boat, the water's going to be smooth sometimes. The water can turn and the seas get rough. You end up having to go through a storm. You have to detour all of that. But as long as you keep trusting God to get you to that final destination, you're good. And I think that's really what we see with Joseph, because even when things are slightly better, when he's, elevated in Potiphar's house in the prison and things like that, anytime a storm comes, he's able to continually just trust, okay, God gave me a dream. He then reinforced that dream with another one. I'm going to trust him to see me through this.
So your question was, do you think he knew exactly what his dreams meant when he got them?
I do wonder if he had some more clarity than maybe we get in the story.
I think, I've never thought about that, but I do know, like, God will reveal certain things to you and he will withhold certain things from you, right? So at when he was a child, like when he was younger, telling his brothers about the dreams, I don't think he would have had, like, the specifics like he did with the famine. Because I think because sometimes when you know too much, right, you try to do things thinking that, oh, it's going to work out this way, and I know how we're going to get there. Whereas God may have a different plan for you. Like, does that make sense? So, like, if he told him, like, hey, you're going to get to Egypt and you're going to be the first person under the Pharaoh, right? Then maybe Joseph would have taken things into his own hands and, like, his brothers and stuff. And then he might not have ended up there at all. So I feel like he probably had some, like, he based off of the dreams, he knew that he'd be elevated above his brothers, right? But I don't think they knew like to what extent that meant.
No, and I get that part of it too. But yeah, it's with just looking at his life and you know, as you talk about purpose and things like that, I think when you look at Joseph's life, you just see someone who, okay, God gave me a vision. Maybe it's not as clear as I want it to be, but I am going to purposefully trust him to bring me to that vision. And I think that's, you know, that does mean that sometimes you're going to go through really bad storms, right? Sometimes it's going to be smooth sailing. And I think there's going to be times when you don't really know. I think there's going to be times where you may not even realize you've gotten to that destination, right? Because like, I really wonder when Joseph, all these things happened, right? Because even when you go back to the sons' names, right? Manasseh, and said, "It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and my father's household." If he forgot his father's household, right? To me, to some degree, he's not even holding on to that dream anymore that God originally gave him. Because if he's forgotten about the household, you've forgotten about the dream, because the dream involves the household.
Yeah.
Right? So I do think that to some degree, Joseph was just, all right, just trusting God. I mean, the thing that is interesting to me is it wasn't like, I don't know what translation you have, but if you have the NIV, it has like a little thing next to Manasseh's name, and it says Manasseh sounds like and maybe derived from the Hebrew for forget, right? So Joseph could have just said, I named him Manasseh because I've forgotten my troubles, right? Yet in both sons, he specifies it's because of God, right? Even at this point in his life, he's still able to credit God for what's happening.
And I think that's the key part. Because especially when you're going through these hardships or you're moving on from these hardships, right? It's important to remember that, I don't want to say that God put you through these hardships, but like there was a purpose behind it, right? It's not like, oh, God's bored, so he's going to throw some drama in your life, right? A lot of times there is a reason behind it. There are things that God wants you to learn, to grow, to like cultivate. And that's just the way that you got to do it sometimes. I think it was important that Joseph kind of kept God at the center, to be like, God has taken me through this, and now that I have elevated and I have been blessed by him, I can now forget all of that because of God. Like he's taken me through it, and now we can leave it where it was.
But I think that's important to note that he wasn't like I don't remember in the story he ever. I don't remember him really looking back at prison and Potiphar's wife and like, look at what God brought me to get me to here. It's just
mainly
goes,
just his father's house, like
right.
the brother situation.
It's the family that's the thing that stung everything that happened. That's what stung the most, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. But he made me forget all my trouble, which to me is Potiphar and being sold into slavery and prison. Right.
And my
father's
two
house.
Separate.
Right.
Like yeah.
But it's not. Look at where God's brought me. It's like, no, God he's removed me from those things.
Yeah.
Now.
I think it's one of those things where like we have moved on from that, but I'm trying to word this properly, where it's like I can look back and appreciate it, but I don't have those negative feelings toward it anymore, because now that I have grown from it, I can see the purpose behind me having to go through all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, because then even when you look at Ephraim again, his name, right? It's God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering.
Yeah.
Right? He he acknowledges the suffering, but he's more so acknowledging it's always. So I feel like there's this thing about like, as we're talking about purpose, okay, look at all these bad things happen. They happen for a purpose, right? And I understand that level of reflection, but when I look at the names Joseph is giving, his level of reflection is not look at where I've been, it's look at who God has been and still is. Right? It's even going through everything, he has this small distinction of it's not about where I've been, it's about who has God been through all of these things. Right? And I think that's just an amazing thing to do when he has gone through all of these things.
Yeah.
The same way when you were asking about the brothers, was it reasonable for them to like expect Joseph to want to kill them? I think it's reasonable for Joseph to be mad at God at this point. After, look at everything you brought me through. You're telling me there was no better way to get me from Canaan to
But if
like
he were
Egypt.
to have that mentality, I don't think he would have gotten as far as he did.
No, I
Yeah.
agree, right? But I'm just saying when you look at think about how many people when they receive this level of blessing,
Yeah.
they change up. Right?
I don't think that's a guarantee.
No,
every
it's
time.
not a guarantee, but I do think there are people who when they get I think there's people who will pray for a job and then when they get blessed with a job, choose to do overtime instead of coming to church when they
but
don't need to.
Let's look at it in context of Joseph's life, though, and the example that he has set. I don't think that's a realistic or expectation for him to have, to be like, oh, now this is like, to turn back and be like, this is the way you wanted to do this, God, right? Based off of the example that he has set of having been as faithful as he was to God through all of the hardships.
Yes, but then I would also say, look at David and what he ends up doing with Bathsheba. All the good things God does for him, right? All the situation God brings him through, right? And then he still does this horrible act, right? It can happen to anyone, is the point I'm trying to get to, right?
Question.
Before you ask it, right? It doesn't take a lot to take your eyes off God for a split second and say something to God or do something that you shouldn't do. Right? And we see, obviously, Joseph is the better example of staying committed to God 100%. We see in David the take your eyes off of God for a second and look what can happen.
Okay. So then I'll scrap my question.
Okay.
But it can always go two ways. But I think based off of the context of Joseph's life and the example that he has set, I wouldn't have expected him to turn back and be like resentful towards his brother. Especially after like seeing how the eldest reacted when he wanted to keep the youngest. Because I can also see in that situation him turning and being like, why didn't you feel that way towards me, right? And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect someone to react that way. But I think based off of what we know and have learned of Joseph's life, I would not have expected that from him. Which is why I was like, I don't think he would turn back on God and be like, this is how you wanted to do it. Especially after knowing where he is now and the good that he can do for his family and his brothers. So that's all I've got. The moral of the story is there's a purpose behind what it is that you're going through. You may not see it in the moment, but try to keep God in the center and be, what's the word I'm looking for? Be like intentional about the way that you go about things, right? Try to strive for that Christ-like behavior, because at the end of the day, it's not going to do you wrong. Even if it's not a pleasant situation, right? If you handle things the right way and you keep God and keep your faith centered and grounded in the Word and who God says He is, you might be Pharaoh's right hand man. You know what I mean?
Word.
All right. That's all, folks.